So, Beast in Black, a band formed from a previous band with Black in the title, but that band disbanded and made Beast in Black. Now, when the album came out, the reaction was mostly that the singer was incredible, and the fact it's very, very catchy, and that's mostly it. The praise mostly sits with the singer, being having an incredible voice, having incredible range, and just being absolutely catchy. So the album has received a lot of positive reviews, usually in the high-end marks, if not this is a very solid album mark. There's nothing that's really just this is okay, or this is mediocre, or it's not that good, or terrible. Doesn't really ever fit in there. So, with me, will I break that mould? Will I think different to the majority? Which is usually the case, but we'll see. So, overall, with music, I hear a lot of the same things. Bands doing this. You need the intro, and then you need the verse, the chorus, the verse, and then end on the chorus. And then occasionally you put a solo in there. But the two verses are always the same. The choruses are always the same. And the intro is the same as the outro, if you really get any. It's very bland and it's very basic, and there's a lot of it. And you got a typical sound of just you plug in, you play. Now other bands have now done experimentations of progression, so start soft and then gradually build. Or gradually build, get to a peak, and then gradually descend back into a melody. You get things after the second chorus where there's a change, or multiple verses, multiple choruses, complete change and shifts. You get songs that are very, very long, you got songs that tell stories, come up with unique ideas that aren't all about heartbreak and everything. And you get bands that do heavy keyboards, bring in orchestras and everything. But because there are so many bands out there these days, it's getting to a point where it's very hard to be different and diverse. So I look for diversity in music because it's hard to really find something new. Whenever I usually hear music now, it's basically the same thing. The only reason I get into bands these days is basically just if the guitarist fits me personally better than other guitarists I've heard of a similar style, and the singer maybe is better, and maybe they're just a bit more tighter as a unit in the songwriting and structure to other bands that do pretty much the exact same thing. That's all that really gets me into a new band and then tops the other one, just someone who kind of fits into that category and does it better, in my opinion. Other than that, there's nothing brand new for me to get excited about. So, with this album, is this technically the same old, following a formula of what has come before? Does the album never change or evolve? Is every song consistently the same? And for the moment, I'm going to say this is a very diverse album. And musically, it keeps changing. They go through multiple styles. It's very, very diverse. But I'm going to hold off on what comes next until later. So for the moment, I'm basically just going to go track by track. Not every track, I'm just going to rush through it. My review will probably still take a long time, it usually does, even when I try and make it shorter. But Beast in Black, the first track. Now this technically is a track that is people's favourites. It's got the most technical stuff in there. There's a fair few pitch changes for the singer. So his voice is the most varied here, and musically it's probably the most varied. Personally for me, I'm not that big a fan of Beast in Black, because it's just a bit typical for me. There's nothing new about it. It's typical power metal, and it's medieval sounding, and I'm not really into the medieval sound, but yeah, it's typical medieval, it's typical power metal. There's nothing new. His voice does do range, the instruments are nice and everything. The solo is nothing absolutely grand and special, but it is a very good solo. And that's it. So is that something to really boast about and to really put in your catalogue to listen to over and over again? No, not really. It's just an appreciation, and that's about as much as you get. So that is how I take that song. Blind and Frozen is a single. Now this does kind of change, and the change is mostly the verse, where you get a lot of keys. There's nothing really else going on. It's a lot of keys. It sounds it's got a wintry type of vibe to it, a dark winter. In my opinion, that's what I get from it mentally. And the lead singer does a tone which is very, very different, very new and unique. As in, he sounds like a woman. No, I don't really want to say he shouldn't, because if a guy wants to sound like a woman, they should have every right to do that. If a man wants to be a woman, they have a right to. If a man wants to sing and sound like a woman, they have a right to. And technically, because of the Adam's apple, it's a very hard feat to actually sound like a woman when you are a man and you've not had any kind of surgery and been taking all the pills and all them sort of things. So it's quite a feat to have a man with an Adam's apple to hit a note and range of that of a woman. And he seriously does. Like, he sounds unbelievably feminine. So even though it's weird knowing he's a man, I'm personally just struggling with it, but I shouldn't. I should overcome it. So for this sake, I will, and basically say it's really good and shows real talent for a male to be able to hit such a range and everything. And he keeps it through the entire verse, and it's not one type of note. He kind of wavers around with the note, so he's not restricted. He seems to have a flow to it, and a lot of control to this female tone that must be very hard to do, because as I said, he has an Adam's apple and he is a man. So it is great talent and everything. And then the chorus, he goes back into the typical voice of his, so his typical voice, and it's all very, very catchy. And then you get a solo, which is, again, nothing special, but it is very good. Born Again, probably one of my favourite songs, because for the singer, I think it's his best show. And the music video for this is basically him actually just by himself in a dark room, just singing it. That's it. There's no band, nothing else. It's just him. And I believe that is the case because it's the best show of his vocal delivery. I'm feeling a little sick, so I'm trying not to sneeze. So if I do, I'm very sorry. Yeah, Born Again is probably one of my favourite, because his vocal delivery is unbelievable. Like, the guy does have a good voice, I will not deny it. And in this, he really pushes it. It's pure delivery for vocals, this song, purely to show what he has. It's not really holding back, it is really going at it. The chorus, he gets into the kind of yellings and holding it and getting them high kind of notes, not high feminine, but the really high wailing notes, back to the kind of yelling but not screams, because if you're a good singer, you don't have to do all that stupid bloody screamo. So it's a very good song for his vocal delivery. Zod the Immortal is a very heavy song. So again, it's quite different. So far we've had the Beast in Black, which is a very typical power metal medieval song. Then you got Blind and Frozen, where he has the really feminine voice and everything, and the catchy chorus. You got Born Again, which is a brilliant vocal delivery and everything, catchy chorus again. Zod the Immortal, we get pure heavy metal. Like, the vocal delivery is very aggressive in this, as well as the instrumentation. It is all very aggressive. Nothing like the previous tracks. This is pure brutal kind of metal type of stuff. very intense singing. It's not screaming or anything. It's quite borderline what he's doing, because he's putting so much aggression into his vocal delivery. The chorus goes back to kind of Blind and Frozen, Beast in Black, Born Again. Chorus, catchy, same voice, nothing really new to it. Crazy Mad Insane, maybe a song that puts a lot of people off, but it is actually the most diverse song on the album, because it's very, very poppy. Very poppy. Kind of reminds me of maybe 70s pop. Like if you go to a club in the 70s at night and then there's all the neon lights out, the song really fits into that vibe. Going out clubbing in the 70s to a neon bar. And Crazy Mad Insane gives me that image. It's a very poppy. The instruments aren't really in it. I think there is some kind of techno things in there. And then the chorus goes to very, very catchy again. And the instruments then come in, but other than that, the verses, I don't think any of them are actually playing. It's just the singing and the electronic. No, obviously a lot of people aren't going to be a fan of this, because obviously the electronic side and the rest of the instruments do cut out. Now, if it was all the album, I wouldn't like it myself, but the fact is it is just took diversity to such a step forward, because it is so different. And it is catchy, the chorus is catchy. So I actually do really actually enjoy this song. As for the rest of the songs, it just goes back and forth through typical things they do, which is verses with just maybe the keys and the vocals, or some of it sounding quite medieval, very, very catchy choruses. So, to sum up then, you have the first track, which is medieval power metal vibe, Blind and Frozen, which has keyboard verse and girly vocals and the catchy chorus. Then you've got Born Again, which is catchy chorus and keys with the vocals. Then you got Zod the Immortal, which is very heavy metal but has a catchy chorus. Then you have Crazy Mad Insane, which is very, very different but has a catchy chorus. So it is diverse, because you've got the medieval power metal, then you've got the girly kind of singing style, then you've got Zod the Immortal, which is very brutal, then you have Crazy Mad Insane, which has got techno. That's a lot of diversity in an album. But then the album is so boring because it's not diverse at all. Now that's going to be tricky to kind of bring across, but I think already some of you are probably going to be following why. Every song has a catchy chorus. All the choruses actually are very similar. There's slight differences, of course, but overall, it's all the same. Every chorus throughout this whole album sounds exactly the same. And again, for the most part, a lot of these songs is singing with keys for verses. So that's a consistent thing. There's not much in length either. So again, it's you got your intro, then your verse, chorus, solo, chorus. So that is pretty much always the flow for, again, every single song. So the flow of how it's structured is all exactly the same. And a lot of the verses is just keys and the vocals. Sometimes it isn't. But when it isn't, it just sounds typical power metal and medieval. So that's all consistent. Every chorus pretty much all sounds the same. There are the differences because obviously there's different lyrics and then different pacing, but it's overall the same catchiness, same type of vocal delivery, and same type of noise they kind of bring about. So all of that is exactly the same. And then the solos being technically good and everything, it's not overly technical and it's not overly catchy or memorable. It's just, this is a good guitarist, but there's nothing good in any real category. So there's that. It is a diverse album, but at the same time, it really isn't. And that was why listening to this album a few times really kind of played with me. Because Crazy Mad Insane is damn diverse for this whole album. But again, it's not really diverse. And you say, well, it's all techno. No other song has that. So how can you say this song is still even the same? Because the chorus is the same thing. Just extremely catchy, same vocal delivery. It has a slight change because the techno is in there. But if you take that techno out, that chorus is exactly the same as every other chorus. Zod the Immortal. Very brutal. Extremely brutal. Unlike anything else in this album at all. Diverse. Something different and new. And that is great. But the chorus is like every other chorus. Born Again, it's a great vocal delivery. Like, I really do listen to that song and really appreciate his vocals. They are fantastic. But it's the same chorus. The verse, it's singing and keyboards, which he does kind of in other places. Structurally, they don't do that much. I would like to see more structure. And again, for the vocal delivery, people say he's very diverse. It's not as diverse as you think. Zod the Immortal, he can get very aggressive. Blind and Frozen, he sounds feminine. Other than that, there's not much to him. That is as diverse as he gets. Being a woman, and then being aggressive, to then his typical voice. That's not very diverse to me. Like, I never get a really deep voice. I don't get loads of highs. Like, he does do highs, but it's a typical delivery where in the song it's him and then with highs. But then that's a consistent thing through the song. So even though that is different and changing in the song, because there's the normal pitch and then there's the high pitch, but he does that a lot. So technically that is all repetitive again. So it's diverse, yet it isn't. Every song I'm hearing the exact same chorus, which gets very boring even with the diversity in some verses. But I've only named a few. Blind and Frozen kind of sounds like a girl, but if he sounded normal, sounds like any other song. If he just used his normal voice. As I said, in other songs it's voice keyboard. The only reason it's different is because he uses that feminine tone. Zod the Immortal, very, very aggressive, but same chorus. And the structure is all the same, so there's not much to it. And then Crazy Mad Insane has that techno stuff. So technically there's the techno stuff, and then there's the brutal heavy metal, then there's female singing, and other than that, that's really as actually diverse as it actually really gets. There's still diversities here and there, then there's really big diversities, but they hide it with repetition. Because Zod the Immortal is very different, Crazy Mad Insane is very different, but the choruses are all exactly the same. And if you took the techno out of Crazy Mad Insane, it still kind of sounds like them. Like, there is an overall tone throughout this album which does sound quite 70s pop, because they have them catchy choruses. It does sound very 70s. Crazy Mad Insane has a techno aspect to it, but there is an overall sound to the album of a 70s, 80s, God, maybe 60s? I have no idea. Kind of techno club. It runs throughout the album. So the overall sound throughout the album is a consistent thing. So, overall, there are things to be appreciated. One, the vocals are very good. Personally, I think he could do a hell of a lot more. A lot of people say it's very diverse, one of the most diverse vocally delivered albums they've ever heard. I don't think so. I think he can do more, because there's a lot of the same old throughout this album. But I'm just saying positives, and he has got a good voice, and there is some diversity with that voice. There are some changes. Sod the Immortal, Crazy Mad Insane, the female vocal delivery, some medieval stuff, some more kind of power metal maybe. So there are some changes, but there should be a lot more. It's not enough. There's some good solos, but there should be better. Do something incredibly insane, or do something incredibly moving, incredibly thoughtful. And then for structure, you need more. So there are some good things, there are some things to be appreciated, the vocals, there is diversity, and seeing that there is so many bands out there that don't do diversity at all, this is very, very good. Even though it's not as much as one would actually think when you actually delve into it. Good vocals, diversity, where in today's generation it's really lacking. It's coming to a point where things are all kind of sounding exactly the same and melding together. And there is solos. Even in some bands it's hard to find a band that does solo. Some of them actually leave it out, which is very annoying. So there are some appreciations, but as I said, vocally there could be a lot more. The solos, they're good, but there's nothing memorable. Structure, nothing to it. The choruses are all exactly the same. They need to change them choruses to be different instead of just changing the tidbits. They should have done more Zod the Immortal styles and more maybe Crazy Mad Insane styles. And then just go into different styles, but nah, it's all trickery. Crazy Mad Insane, take that techno stuff out, same as any other song. Blind and Frozen, take out them female sounding vocals and just put in his normal ones. Sounds like another song off this album. You just change these little things, and then everything becomes one song that lasts around 50 minutes. Because there won't be any diversity, really. It's only slights. And then the things that make it sound very diverse, it's not as diverse as you actually would think. So, I'm probably bursting a lot of people's bubbles because a lot of people think this is a very good album, very catchy, very diverse, great vocals. And I have said the vocals are great and it is diverse and it is catchy. But I have to judge this and I have to be realistic. I'm giving you the points. I'm not denying these things. But there is more to it than you think. So anyway, wrapping up, putting a rating on this, it's definitely above average because the vocals, the solos, slight diversity, maybe it's 6. 6 is above average, a 7 would be good. So, I'd say 6.5. I don't think it really is a good album because me personally, the album kind of bores me because all the choruses are exactly the same, and then some of the verses are actually quite the same. There's only tad bits which it really actually changes quite drastically, but other than that, there's a lot just sounding the exact same thing. And again, the medieval sound's not really my cup of tea. So 6.5. It's above average. It's on its way to become a good album. And with what I've seen, they could go beyond that. But it depends on what they do. And it depends on what the fans and everyone says. If people jump on with me and then explain this, the band will strive to be more like what I'm saying. When people keep saying the vocals are great and they're extremely varied and the solos are great and there's a lot of variations of the songs, it will technically kind of stay the same way because they won't really see a need to really improve. They'll think they're that diverse and the vocals are that diverse and great. Challenge them and they will try and do more. You should always challenge a band. It's not being mean, it's not being harsh, it's making them strive to be better. So that is basically me for this review. Has turned out shorter than my other review, still probably technically long compared to a lot of other reviewers on YouTube, but this is damn short for me. So I'm getting better. But I hope you liked, and if you got to the end, good for you. Thank you, and I hope you appreciated everything I had to say. So before you go, I'd like if you leave a like, if you agree with me, if you actually like the way I review albums. If you don't, by all means, leave a dislike. But don't just leave a dislike and go. I would like it if you were to write a comment saying what it was I can improve on, or what I should maybe not do. Because obviously I would like to learn and evolve myself. I'm not the greatest at this, I am aware of that. So if anyone can give help and everything, I would appreciate that, and I welcome it. And also, if you want to see more from me, then subscribe. That is the best I can ask for, more subscribers, because I'm still very small, and I would like to make something of this. I talk music a lot in the comments. I love talking about music, so I'm very active in the comment section. So if you want to follow me and see my opinions on other things, because I do review in this type of way a lot, subscribe and stick with me, and I will seriously appreciate it. But that's all I have to say, so I'll leave it there. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.